Hello everyone, welcome back to the Java tutorial series. In this video, we are going to learn about the continue statement in Java. The continue statement is used to skip the current iteration of a loop. So it is used to skip the current iteration of the loop and move directly to the next iteration. So, by the end of this video, you will understand how and when to use the continue statement. So, let's understand what is continue statement. So, continue is a keyword in Java we will use in the inside loop as a continue statement, and this continue statement is a loop control statement. Why it is loop control statement? Because it will control the loop by skipping the current iteration. It has some control over loop. That's why we are calling continue statement as a loop control statement. So when Java encounters a continue statement, it skips the remaining code in the current iteration and start the next iteration of the loop. Let me take one example for better clarity. So let's say we have one loop for I equals to 1, and let's say I less than equals to 5, I plus plus, and we have, let's say, if let's say I equals to 3, then continue, and let's say we are here printing print ln, here some printing I. So in this example, we are iterating for loop with I equal to 1 to 5. That means this loop will iterate for 5 times. Loop will iterate for 5 times. On the third iteration, we have added one condition. On the third iteration, we have used continue statement. So what is the definition of continue statement? When continue statement executes, then it skips the current iteration of the loop. So what it will do? It will do the current iteration. And what is the current iteration? I equal to 3. That is third iteration. So on the third iteration, it will skip the loop, means whatever lines of code present after this line, that is, these lines of code will be skipped. Skipped means these lines will not get executed. So from the line of continue statement, it will directly go to increment, and then from increment again condition check, and again the body of loop. So for continue, For that particular iteration, it will skip the code execution for that particular iteration, that is this line of codes. So here it is written, instead of stopping the loop, current iteration is skipped. Next iteration begins. So in this example, we have seen I is iterating for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 iteration, and we wanted to skip third iteration. So we added one condition, if I equal to 3, and inside that if block we added continue statement. So the remaining lines of code on the third iteration is skipped and it moved on to the next iteration. So let's see in IntelliJ. We are learning continue statement in Java. So let's say example for int I equals to 1, I less than or equals to 5, and I plus plus. Oh, what happened? Okay. So we are inside for loop. This loop will iterate for 5 times. That is I equal to 1 to I equals to 5. And we want to skip third iteration code, third iteration lines of code execution. So we will be using continue statement for third iteration. So we will add one condition, if I equals to 3, that is on third iteration, continue means skip the remaining lines of code and here we'll add some line. Let's say I. So I will comment this out for now. I'll comment this out. So this is simple for loop for now, which is printing value I equal to 1 to 5. Since it is iterating for 5 times, let's run and check. Yeah, it is printing 1 to 5. So we want to skip third iteration. So we have added one condition saying that if I equal to 3, that means on third iteration, don't execute the remaining lines of code, directly go to the next iteration. So we are using continue statement. So we are saying here, directly go on next iteration and skip the execution for current iteration, that is third iteration. So from line number 12, it will directly go to line number 8 for next iteration. These lines of code will not get executed for the third iteration. So what will be the output? So output will be, it will execute first iteration. These lines of code will not get executed since the condition is false. So it will print 1. Then again on the next iteration, that is second, it will print 2. And on the third iteration, it will execute this block and it will say, hey, skip the remaining lines of code and directly go to the next iteration. So it will not print 3, the current iteration value, and it will, from continue statement, it will directly go to the next iteration, that is fourth, and I equal to 4, this condition will false, so it will print 4 now. Now again next iteration, condition false, it will print 5. So let's run the application and see the output. So in the output we can see 3 is not there. It is 1, 2, 4, 5 as we calculated. So when I becomes 3, the continue statement skips the print statement and moves to the next iteration. So for I equal to 1 printed, I equal to 2 printed. For I equal to 3, it continue executes, print statement is skipped, and loop moves to the next iteration. For I equals to 4, it is printed. For I equals to 5, it is printed. Let's take one more example for better clarity. And this time we will use while loop. So let's say int I equals to 0 and while, let's say I less than 5 and I plus plus. So this is normal loop which is incrementing from 0 to 4 with the increment of value 1. And let's print the value. Let's print the value of I. So what will be the output of this while loop? Initialization 0 and it will go up to 4. So this loop will execute from I equals to 0 to I equals to 4. Since if I will become 5, condition will become false and it will come out of the loop. So it will execute from 0 to 4. And as soon as it enters the while loop, the value of I is incrementing by 1. So if it is 0, it will become 1 and it will print 1. So what will be the output? Output will be 1. Then again it will go inside the loop, 1 checking. Again it will increment. Likewise it will go up to 4. So for 2 it will print. Third iteration it will print. Fourth iteration it will print. And 4 is less than 5. Yes, condition is true. And it will increase as 5. Then it will print 5. Then it will come out of the loop. That means it will print 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. let's verify, run the program and verify the output here. So while loop is clear now. Now we want on the third iteration, it should not print the value of I, that is 3. So for that, we will add one condition saying if I equals to 3, just skip the current iteration and move on to the next iteration. Skip the current iteration means it will not execute the remaining lines of code for the current iteration. So for that purpose, we will use continue statement. So it will not execute the print line for third iteration. So we will get output 1, 2, 4, 5. Let's run the program and check the output. Yeah, so in the output, we can see 1, 2, 4, 5. It skipped the third iteration. So when I becomes 3, the current iteration is skipped and the loop continues with the next iteration. So a common use of continue is to skip unwanted values. So let me comment this. Let's take one more example, printing even numbers. How we will print even numbers? So let's say for int I equals to 1 and I less than equals to 10 and I plus plus. So we are iterating from 1 to 10 and we want to print even numbers. So we want to print even numbers. So before that, let's print 1 to 10. So this loop should print 1 to 10. Let's run the program. Yeah, this loop is printing 1 to 10. But this is not our requirement. Our requirement is to print even numbers only. And what are the even numbers? Even number which is divided by 2, which gives remainder 0. That is even numbers. So out of these 10 values which we are getting from 1 to 10, we need to remove all those numbers which are not divided by 2. That is 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. So this number we don't want to print. So for that, we will say if I mod 2, that means I mod 2 will give the remainder. And remainder will be 0 for even numbers. Because it is completely divisible, so remainder will be 0. So for 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, remainder will be 0. And for 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, remainder will be 1. If we divide 3 by 2, we will get remainder 1. If we divide 5 by 2, we will get remainder 1. Likewise, for 7, we will get remainder 1 if we divide by 2. And for 9 also, we will get remainder 1. That is non-zero. So we are getting reminders for even numbers as 0 and for odd numbers we are getting not 0. So we will add condition If remainder not equals to 0, then then skip the print line, skip the next line and move on to the next iteration. So skip the current iteration and move to the next iteration. So it will skip the current iteration. Current iteration means based on this condition, all odd numbers will be filtered out. So let's say if it is 1, then this condition will become true and it will execute continue statement. So continue statement will not execute the remaining line of code. It will say, hey, go on to the next iteration. So it will not print 1. Again, it will come for 2, I equal to 2. Then this condition will become false. So it will not execute continue statement. It will print 2. Then on the next iteration, when I equals to 3, again condition becomes true. The continue statement will execute and it will skip the line of code, remaining line of code. It will not print 3. It will again go to 4. So likewise, we will get the output as output as 2, 4, 6, 8 and 10. So let's verify by running the program, running the Java program. So in the output, we can see it is 2, 4, 6, 8 and 10. That was our agenda, printing even numbers. So here odd numbers are skipped and only even numbers are printed. So you might be thinking, then what is the difference between break and continue? So the break uses to terminate the loop completely, whereas the continue skips the current iteration, only, and break execution moves outside the loop. So whenever the break statement gets executed, it moves outside the loop immediately. Whereas in continue statement, execution moves to the next iteration. Break stops further looping. Break terminates the loop. Whereas continue, with the continue statement, loop continues running with the next iteration. So understanding this difference is very important when writing loops. I will give you one real life example so we'll have better understanding. So imagine a teacher checking attendance, and if a student is absent, then teacher skips that student and continue for checking next student. Similarly, the continue statement skips the current iteration and proceeds with the next one. So important points to remember: continue skips the current iteration only, and it does not terminate the loop, and it can be used with for, while and do while loops. And continue statement is also useful when certain values or conditions should be ignored. So let's recap what we learned so far. So continue is a loop control statement. It skips the current iteration and moves to the next iteration. It can be used for while and do while loops. It helps ignore unwanted values and simplify loop logic. That's all for this video. I hope this tutorial helped you understand the continue statement in Java. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.